Hey guys, in the last video we experienced a little bit of a bug when adding a product. We'd come back to this screen and the edit and delete buttons would not show up. And I figured out what the problem was. It's because we're using flat list. And one of the optimizations flat list does is whenever nothing changes in the data, it doesn't re-render. So our data wasn't changing. What was changing was the user ID, so it wouldn't update. So instead of having the user ID or the current user outside of the products, we're going to map through the data right here. So what I'm going to do is products.map, and I'm going to create a new x, so .x, and I'm going to add a new attribute to it called show button or show buttons. And we're just going to say this.state.user_id, and we're going to do the same check we did below, and then we'll just say x.seller.id. So show buttons will be true if the current user is the seller. And we don't need these console logs anymore. And now instead of doing the check here, we can just say item.showButtons. So if we should show buttons, it'll go ahead and show it, which is going to be the seller. So we see nothing change on our first render. Now if we call this, choose a image, nice, add product, bam. So we see it at the bottom here. We also see edit and delete still there, and let's try deleting one, and cool, everything's working. Alright, so that eliminates that bug. What I want to do next is actually get this edit button working. And so to do that, we want to go to a different screen, kind of like how create product works, and just fill out a form. So the form is going to be almost identical to new product, the form we have here. So what I'm thinking is creating a component called form and putting the form elements here, components. So I'm just going to copy this whole thing, paste it in here. Now for this, the things that we need are non-GraphQL related, so we can get rid of all this GraphQL stuff, and we don't care about the products query either. What we do care about is the default state, and now we can call this form, and I think we can just export default to form. Don't think we need to do GraphQL at all. Alright, so everything looks good here. Change text is going to be the same. The only difference is with the submit, we're not going to put any logic for the submit. Instead, we're going to just call the props. So we're going to say const errors is equal to submit. We're going to say this.props.submit. And so whoever creates or calls this form component is going to pass it a submit function, and we're just going to pass in the values, so this.state.values, and they can do whatever they want with the values here. And then we're just going to listen for any kind of errors that come back, and we just say if errors, and we can get rid of this. We can say this.setState errors. So we update the errors object if there's any errors here. Now I think it's, yeah, we're just not using the errors. Currently there's no errors we expect. At least we're not checking for errors right now. So we could just ignore this if we wanted to. So also here, we could actually probably just keep the whole thing as is. I think that's good. So now new products, we can change up. We don't care about default state, any of this stuff. We don't care about on change text. The only thing we care about is a submit function. And what is it going to do? It's going to take some values here, which it's going to get passed to it. And so we can say, we can destructure the values right here, and it does a mutation, and then it pushes to products. We don't need pick image. We don't need this, and we actually don't even really need to have a component. We could actually make this just a function if we wanted to, but we can have it like this. And now we want to keep the GraphQL stuff down there. Now we're just going to have our form component, and this is going to be uppercase. Doesn't look like I can auto import this guy. And we're just going to pass in a submit function, which is this dot submit. And so we can get rid of all these things here, and then we can import form. And that's coming from components/form. Alright, so this looks good. So basically we just moved the submit logic, or kept the submit logic in new products, and moved the form logic inside of form. So when we click edit, we'll go to a new screen, but when we submit, we want to edit new things. And also we might want to pass in some initial values, which we'll talk about in a second. So looks like we don't need this either. We can delete that. Let's give this a try and make sure it still works. So create product. Alright, and looks like it's added correctly, so it looks like it's still good. So now we can create a new route called editProduct.js, and this is going to be a route just like new product. We'll call it editProduct, and we'll use the editProduct component. So editProduct, let's go ahead and import it. So from our products page. So what we want to pass to it is just initial value when we go over there. Component, because this thing has no content in it right now. So we can copy new product because it's going to be very similar to how edit product works. So we want to have the form fields pre-filled out. So from our products, when we push this button, so edit here, we're going to say this.props.history.push. And now what we want to push is two things. So the path to where we want to go, which is going to be /editProducts, and we need to pass it some state, which is going to be the item. So React Router DOM lets you pass state, and so now we know which product that we're editing. And over here, so how do we access it from this guy? So I'm going to call this edit product. And for now, what I'm going to do is just, call this edit product. I just want to console log the props for you guys so we can take a look at where the state is. Okay, so scroll to the bottom, click edit here, and nothing happened. My guess is, am I using wrong syntax? So products, okay, so path should be path name. Save that, and cool. So now we pop over to a different screen, and invalid prop component of type object. I don't think that's the error we're experiencing. Edit form. We want to push back. All this looks good. I don't know why we're white screen of death over here. Let's make sure we're pushing to the right. So edit product, and over here, there we go. There we go. So I just had an S wrong route we were going to. Cool. Alright, so if you'll notice, the state is going to be actually passed to us in the props. There is location, and state is right here. And the state we passed was an object of the item. So we have the ID, the name, and picture URL, so we can actually pre-fill the fields with that. So let's do that. So again, location and then state. So over here, we're going to pass initial values to our form. So initial values. And we don't actually use this prop currently in our form, so we're going to have to change that. But we're going to say this.props.location and state. So that'll give us the current item. So now in our form over here, we can have a constructor. Instead of setting the form or the state like this, So constructor props, and then in the constructor you say super, passing in the props, and we need to get rid of that there because it doesn't like it, and it doesn't like because it's useless. So to make it not useless, we specify the state here, but passed in as our props is the default value now. So what we want to do is we can do ... default state, and then the only thing that could possibly change is our values. So let's say values, and we're just going to merge the arrays. Now you could just have values equal to initial values, or you could merge them, and we're going to say const initial values, and remember we're not passing this prop in from our new product, so we can just set it to an empty object as a default. So getting this from the props, so then I can say ... default state values, and then here we can say initial values. Now the only thing I don't think is going to work is our images. So for that, I think what we need to do is in our edit product, put localhost in front of it. So here I'm going to pass in an object now. And why don't we just say const state is equal to this .props .location, so it'll be easy to work with. So ... state, and then the picture URL is going to be what we had before, but now we need to put localhost in front of it just like we do here. So grab that, oops, too much. And so we're going to say state.picture URL. So now we're just prepending localhost so it actually looks like something. Alright, so now let's take a look at what this looks like. It didn't work at all. So let's go over to edit products. We are supplying the initial values, and I'm just going to say console.log this.state. So either we're not getting initial values correctly or something. It is. So the object is ID. Okay, so initial values. Okay, so notice how there's an object called initial values inside of this, so it is not working correctly, and that's because I didn't do ... right there. We wanted to expand this as well. Cool. So value of type number supplied to text input expected string. So it looks like the price is actually a float and it needs to be a non-float. So over here we're going to say price is going to be equal to state.price, and there's lots of different ways to cast it to a string, but here's one way. And we don't really need to console log there anymore. So alright, so this guy, we have all the fields already pre-filled out. Awesome. So now we're going to keep track of any changes that we make to it. And then really all we need to change is our submit function now in this, because our form is good, our edit products are submit. So instead of just calling create product, we need to call edit product. Alright, let's go ahead and write out our mutation for edit product. So mutation, and here is where things can be nullable. And so the fields that can't be null are the ID. But after that, our name, that might not have changed. We may not even supply it, so it's optional. So we're going to say string, and actually we can just update product. We can see what we need here. So price, float, and it's also expecting a picture. And again, we might not change the picture, so that's going to be an upload. And then we're gonna just pass all these variables in like we do any other mutation. So name, price, picture. And then from this, we really just need to, I'm gonna go ahead and just get all the fields back. That way we can easily add this back. And the fields we care about are the same ones here actually. So let's go ahead and just copy and I did not copy with, there we go. So I don't need that. And again, the reason why we pick these set of fields is because we want to update our products over here and have it match, and those are the fields that we're selecting, not here, but for our products query at the top, these guys. So you want to make sure those match. Okay, so this looks good. So now instead of create, we're going to have our edit. Go ahead and delete this guy. Edit product mutation. Alright, then up here we can pass in our variables. The only thing to check though is our picture URL might not change. So all I'm going to do is do like a little if statement here. So, and I'm going to say let picture equal null by default, and we can redefine what picture is if we get a new one. So if this props initial values picture URL does not equal the current picture URL, then we know something has changed and we can go ahead and set it to a React Native value. Otherwise, setting these look perfect. This is not going to be called create product, this is going to be edit product, and we can just pass it directly in, I believe, except for instead of push we have to map. So data.products, because we're changing, and I'm gonna get rid of the comments. So the way I like to update an item in this is to map over all of them until we find the item we need to update. And the way we find it is by checking the IDs. If it's equal to edit product.id, then we just put edit product in its place, otherwise we keep X. So again, what this is doing is we're looking through each item in the products until we find the product we just edited, which is, this is true. We no longer want the old one, so we just replace it with the new one. But for all the rest of them, all the old ones are fine because we didn't change anything. Alright, the rest of this looks good. We push back to this. Let's try this out and see if it works. So I'm just going to edit one field at a time. So instead of this, I'm going to call this Bob. And we should put new text there. Undefined is not an object. Alright, so this looks like it's coming from, no idea where this is coming from actually. This.props initial value to picture area. Undefined is not an object. Okay, so either this.props initial values. Oh, I was thinking I was in the form right now, and I'm not in the form right now. To get that, it's location.state. Alright. Edit Bob. Nothing seems to be happening. Error occurred. Let's take a look at what happens on the back end. So this is where, if you guys remember, I wanted to console log the product to see what that value was. ID required. Oh, we're not passing an ID in. So let's go ahead and do that. That's something I forgot. So the ID is just going to be this.props.loc, and again, let's go ahead and just say grab the state so we don't have to keep doing this. This.props.location, and then we're going to say just the state there, and then we could say state.id. Alright, open this up. And also, I'm just going to just say product. That way it's easy to find what log statement that is. We'll let this restart, and then we can go ahead and make our change. Alright, so error cannot read property ID of undefined. So this is our product coming from, okay, so this is exactly what I anticipated. So look how I have the product like this, right? So what I wanted to do was check whether the seller ID was equal to the seller of the product. But we didn't get the seller from this query by default, so we need to query it somehow. and I'm not sure how right now, so I'm just going to go ahead and comment that out, and we'll go ahead and focus on that next video. Can I press this again? Yes, I can. Undefined is not an object evaluating edit product ID. Looks like we successfully come back from the server okay, but it doesn't look like the ID is, and that's in our update function. So it doesn't look like this is a thing for whatever reason. So the reason why is probably because it's called update product and not edit product. Update product. Now the update should have still happened though, so we should see Bob, and we do see Bob here, so very cool. And image did not get messed up, perfect. So this is going to be Bob 2 now. Still can't find it even though we updated this. Oh, that would be my bad. And this is going to be Bob 23. And nice, we see Bob 23 show up here immediately because we're updating the cache right here. So perfect. So let's try doing some other stuff. Nice. Let's also change the picture. I want my picture now to be this waterfall scene. And alright, cool. I think we're good. And I don't care about this kid anymore, so I'm just going to delete him. I think we're good with the edit. Like I said, next video what we'll do is we'll go ahead and get the permission checking working. So I'll figure out how to actually fetch the seller of a product. And yeah, so we got edit working. That's pretty cool. And I also want to get into filtering and also eventually maybe some subscription stuff. So that's it for this video, guys. Thanks for watching.